Most surprising, I suppose that I never really thought about this, the plausibility of this story. I never thought you could take the world of Dickens and transpose it to Australia with such with such ease and with such wonderful possibilities, and then to discover that actually it's not out of the realms of possibility that these people would have ended up out here, and indeed they did in reality, in the characters that the real characters that Dickens based them on. So it was what I thought was a wonderful comic device. It was wonderfully surprising to me to find out it was a reality.
I think the most surprising for me was that I was going to get to work with David, because I was such a fan of his before we started working on this. But also just how great the scripts were and the scope of the stories that you could tell in this world. I mean, even now, having watched it all and finished it, I'm like, there's so much more you could do with this. It's such a great world that's been created, and it feels unique and special.
The attraction for me was that I didn't actually approach it as the villain, because actually, of course, I'm not. He's the villain. He's without doubt the villain of the piece, and it horribly is as well. I therefore saw this as a sympathetic character, a sort of very lovable rascal, and more about his relationship with Dodger in a paternal sense, and the kind of cheeky fun of carrying on his criminality. And his madcap, foolproof schemes to get money and scrape by. But I don't even categorize it with other villains I've played, because I just don't see him as that, because when you watch it you'll realize it's him. He's really, really foul.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a lawman. I'm just following the rules.
Yeah. You see what I mean?
Well, I loved working with Thomas and David and Maya. In fact, the whole cast is one of the really impressive things about this job is, when you're going to work and looking around and seeing everybody be so brilliant, you think, am I the bad one in this? Like, everybody, there's got to be one somewhere, because everybody is so good in this show. In terms of taking on that role, I mean, I think especially with a role like Captain Gaines, who is, very much, in the realm of the moustache twirling villain, the classic kind of villain is just trying to find the humanity in him and make him feel like a real person. I guess that's the challenge with a character like that. It's very easy for it to become a cartoon or a cardboard cutout, and I think the challenge is always fighting that and trying to find a real person in there.
I didn't know Thomas before this. I actually was there at his audition. So I was there from the very beginning, the first time he ever opened his mouth playing Jack, and he was just fantastic right back then, the first time. So I knew that I was in very, very good hands, because I'd already acted with him before we arrived here in Australia. And then, we just went straight onto the set, and he's just one of those actors where you look in their eyes and you don't see, once they shout action, you don't see Thomas. Hopefully he doesn't see David, and he just became Jack. I'm Fagin, and that's always the best you can hope for, which was pretty much the case with all these actors. For those moments where the camera's rolling, you're really believing it. That's when the best acting happens, I think, and I think that's completely true of Thomas, because he transformed, and when they shout cut, Thomas appears, David appears, but in those moments it was the two of us, and I felt what Fagin feels for him. I felt very, warm and affectionate for him, and it was remarkably easy. He's just very good.
Yeah, he's extraordinary in the show. I mean, it was impressive being on those sets. The sets, the hospital set, for example, they built basically an entire 1850s hospital on the top floor of a warehouse in Sydney. You could walk from room to room. It's not one of those things where one door ends and you pretend that you're walking into the next room. You really were walking into the next room. And they sort of did a similar thing with the outdoor stuff as well. They kind of shot in a part of Sydney where there are a lot of old buildings already. They added some more. So in terms of feeling like you were in the period, it really helped, didn't it?
Yeah, there was no pretense, like you say. You got lost in the set, which enabled us to do wonderful long Steadicam shots. Which, if you want to look at it, watch the series that way, in a technical way, you'll see we were able to go upstairs, downstairs, through about 3 or 4 rooms within the hospital, and yeah, the exteriors was more or less like a small town that was built, and you would get lost in it. Literally, ADs had to take me to each sex. I would get lost. So the only bits I didn't like were the days we filmed in the bush. I found that just very unpleasant.
Well, the heat with our costumes too, because it was pretty much over summer, wasn't it, in Australia?
Yeah, it was
and most characters, but certainly us, we're covered in layers of things. We're just coats upon shirts upon more coats, and it was that wasn't fun. It was very hot.
And the bugs in the bush, didn't like that.
Yeah,
the leeches. I discovered leeches. What's going on there? Horrible.
And the most annoying. Okay, we'll
Did
start
you say and the most annoying?
No.
That was the question. Well, obviously, Tim mentions in it. So Tim's obviously fun and funny. So that's an easy one.
And Maya actually has a great sense of humor. Maya, who plays Lady Bell, she's constantly fun. She's just like laughing and making jokes, and it's generally a pretty fun.
It is. I've got to say, I know we always say these things on these kind of events where we're pushing a show, but everyone got on very well. We all had a very good time, and there was just so many beautiful people around. And I think that's partly why the show works. You can see that humour and warmth bubbles through to the camera and hopefully into people's homes.